Actually, I'm very excited to come and speak to you, German students. This is the first time that I'm ever trying to tell my mother story to you. Usually I do it to Israeli kids. They know the history and they understand. I hope that through my mother's story, you will be able to see myself, my mother, my people, and my nation as people who suffered, survived, and actually built themselves up from nothing. My name is Ada Weitz. Me and my 3 brothers are the children of a Holocaust survivor. Do you know what the Holocaust is? Who can tell me what is Holocaust? Don't be ashamed. Don't be shy. So sorry. It's a very big tragedy that occurred during the Second World War, through which 6 million Jews were perished. I came to you here today together with my little brother, Alex, his wife, Bina, and my first husband, Yaakov.
Probably the last one.
I hope. I hope you understand my English. I'm quite excited today that I cannot find even words. So, my mother, Ella Liebermann-Shibers, was saved because of her drawing skill. And through her drawing skill, she left us a heritage. Whatever she saw, she just drew. She was born in Germany, in Berlin, and had to leave Berlin with her mother, who was Polish, and they left to Bendin. In Bendin, they were in a ghetto for a few years. And when the ghetto was evacuated, she was sent to Auschwitz. In Auschwitz, she actually drew the portraits of the Nazis. And so she survived. After the liberation, the death march, she drew 100 pictures conveying her past, horrible past, and actually leaving us a testimony of what happened. Many people today say the Holocaust never existed. It did, but the miracle is that we came out of it stronger, with a strong state, and we hope that things like this will never, ever occur. I would like, if one of the students can come here. Yeah, the first. This is in German, but you... This is my mother's testimony, so don't laugh, it is very serious. Although I'm here with a smile, but I'm actually weeping for her and our people. So please tell us what my mother said.
Zur Erinnerung an meine Eltern Jehoshua und Rosa Liebermann, meine Schwester Bertha, meine Brüder Alex und Leo, meine unvergessene Familie und an all jene unseres Volkes, die im Holocaust umgekommen sind. Ich habe versucht, alles, was ich in meiner Jugend gefühlt und gesehen habe und was mir die Welt verdunkelt hat, in meine Zeichnung auszudrücken, um Zeugnis abzulegen über diese Dinge. Es handelt sich um einen bescheidenen Versuch, den ich glaube, es gibt keine Möglichkeit, durch Malerei oder irgendeine andere Ausdrucksform das Grauen auszudrücken, das wir erlebt haben. Kurz nach der Befreiung begann ich das zu zeichnen, was mein Inneres freigab. Graue Linien auf verblichenem Papier, mit zitternden Händen begann ich, die Hölle zu rekonstruieren, aus der meine Mutter und ich nur durch ein Wunder entkamen. Ich fühlte, dass jede zeichnerische Enthüllung meine Gedankengänge erleichterte, dass ganz vorsichtig mein Glaube an die Menschheit und die Welt zurückkehrte. die gestern noch so grausam gegen mich und mein Volk war. Ella Liebermann-Shibers.
Thank you. I would like to thank you like a grandmother, and I'll do it this way. Don't tell your girlfriend. Thank you. This is one of the books that my mother's paintings were published in Israel, and this describes her lifetime through the terrible years from 39 to 45. As I said, she was born in Berlin, 23. I don't know whether it is 1923 or 27, but no matter what, she managed to live through and leave us her story. So, if you can. This is my mother, the first class in Berlin, the girls' school, Jewish school in Auguststraße, and she looks so naive as if she doesn't even know what is going to happen. Next. This is my mother after the liberation. She didn't look like this actually. She looked much, much thinner, but this is the uniform that they were wearing in the concentration camp and her number. This is the prayer, Shema Yisrael, hear, O Lord Israel. This is the last prayer of the Jews who went to discrimination, and it is, she didn't even know Hebrew, but she knew the meaning of this very famous prayer. Hear our Lord. Our God is only one. This is, do you know what this is? So who can tell me what this is? Mein Kampf. Have you ever heard of it? Don't be shy. I could be your grandmother. Go on. You don't know what Mein Kampf is? Okay, this is a book that Adolf Hitler wrote about his opinions about the Jews and what should be done to them. It was his Kampf, his fight against the Jewish people. So this is the way my mother saw the content of this book, Mein Kampf. You can see the flames, you know that the Jews were burning in ovens. You can see the gates, and you can see the skull and the symbol of the Nazism. This is the German boot stamping all over the world. You can see the boot, you can see the mark, you can see Europe. And this, if we go to the present, you can think about Putin doing the same thing to the Ukraine, trying to kill and just to conquer people that don't believe that they should be under his control. This is the symbol of discrimination. Nowadays we hear many stories of discrimination, of shaming, abuse. That's why I came here today to show you what are the results of hating the other people, hating people that don't belong, hating people because of their religion, because of their beliefs, because of the color of skin. We are all common people, equal people. We all have the same rights. And what can we see here? The Jews were not able to join any swimming clubs, to go to the sea, to walk on the pavements. Even the toilets, they were not allowed to. Sorry, I'm so excited, so excuse my English and my excitement. So this is a sign of discrimination. You shouldn't go here, you shouldn't go there. It is only for the Nazi, the German, and the German race. It is not for the Jewish race. Here you see a Nazi soldier is walking on the pavement. And what are the Jews doing? They are not allowed even to move beside him. One of my mother's aunts, a very old lady, she did a very big mistake. She was walking on the pavement and just near this soldier. And he started hitting her just because she was too close to him and she was standing on the same pavement he was. She came home covered with blood and she managed to tell the story. This is the way the Germans evacuated ghettos and taking all the Jews' furniture, belongings, and sending the Jews like parcels to concentration camps. What you can see here is the symbol of Judaism, the menorah. You see the seven, with the seven... Huh? Okay, this is a symbol of Judaism that you can light on Hanukkah and sometimes on festivals, and this is actually the symbol of the State of Israel. This is the burning of the books, the Torah, the very holy script, the Old Testimony. Heinrich Heine said, wherever you see books burning, people will be burnt too. This was his word. He didn't realize that this will be the end of both books, history, and tradition. This is another, sorry. So here it says, the gate to justice. This is actually a Jewish graveyard. And this is the last way that, the deceased can lie in peace. But whatever the Nazis did, they just broke the stones and they made pavements for all over Germany as a road. They used it as a road. Is this the gate of justice for the deceased? Do you understand what I mean? This is one story of heroism. You say that the Jews were sent like sheep to slaughter, but there were many cases of heroism. People who tried to rescue the families, rescue a book. Who would think to rescue a holy book from a burning synagogue? So this Jew was trying to save this very, very holy script, and he got beaten to death by this Nazi officers. And this is actually what my mother told us about the Crystal Night, on which the Germans burned synagogues, empty synagogues, just to try and erase the Jewish race. So this is like shaming. The bird was a symbol of a very, very religious Jew. So these two officers found it very funny not to cut the bird, but to pull it, because this is the sign of the Jewish people, the religious people. They want even to erase the symbols of Judaism. And you can read what my mother wrote here. This is her handwriting. This is a propaganda saying the Jews wanted the war. The Jews are not allowed to carry weapons. The only Jews who are allowed to carry weapons are the Israelis. They live in Israel and they have to protect themselves against so many enemies around. Our army is called Israeli defense army, not conquering army, but defense army, IDF. And here they made it as a propaganda saying the Jews wanted the war. But you know, my mother was around these children, and he said to her, "Ihr habt den Krieg gewollt." And my mother said, "No, I just want a piece of bread, not war." Understood? Are you sleeping? So tell me, because I'm crying my heart out for my mother, and now I'm sharing it with you. So if you don't understand, just let me know. Okay? I want to tell you the history of the people, the history of the mother, and with the hope that things like this will never, ever happen again. Whatever happens now in the Ukraine, we have nothing to do with it. I mean, the human nature likes to shut his eyes, close his ears, not listen, and not to see. Again, the propaganda was against the children, the old people, and the disabled. They were the first to be killed and sent to the slaughter. What can you see here? What can you see here? This is a hospital. A mother that just gave birth to a baby. So with brutal hands, they pick up just born babies, put them in sacks, and throw them out from the window. This is all what my mother experienced or was told. It is not just legends. It is a real story. What are these little babies guilty of? They were guilty of one thing. They were Jews. This is a mass grave in which they killed many, many people. They had to actually make their own graves, and they were sent to the pit here to die. And days after days, the earth was actually like moving because there were some living persons under. This is a barbaric mode. A baby lying in the crib, and the mother trying to protect the baby. He was just shooting the baby, and the mother was crying, "Please don't do that." And she was so shocked that days and days she was walking with the crib, with her baby, dead baby inside, and saying, "This is my little Moishele, this is my little Moishele." She couldn't take it that her Moishele is actually dead. Gib dein Kind hier. So babies were torn out of their mother's arms. They didn't want it. They were shouting, but no matter what, nobody was listening. This is a story. I don't know if you read the story of Anna Frank. Have you heard the story of Anna Frank? She was a little girl from Amsterdam that was hiding behind this wall for years to try and prevent the Germans finding them. My mother described hiding places that the Jews were looking in the ghettos to try and prevent the tragedy. So this is another hiding place. What does the mother do? She puts her hand on the baby so he will not cry and discover the place that they were hiding. And this actually brings us back to the present. Some years ago, some terrorists penetrated Nahariya, and the mother was hiding with a baby somewhere, and she had to suffocate the baby to prevent the terrorists finding her. And Nahariya is a city in Israel, and Shmuel and Dorothea lived just nearby. Another hiding places, but they were mostly found. It is like camouflage, as if they are here, but the Nazis found other ways to discover the hiding place. Another hiding place, this is coal, for warming the house. This is a story of heroism, the story of my uncle, Little Leo. Little Leo was sneaking out of the ghetto to try and find food for his parents. The little kids were actually the little heroes that helped families. They risked their lives to penetrate, to go out of the ghetto, to find some houses with food in them, and to bring back to the family. So little Leo went out and found a house, and all of a sudden, they heard a whistle. There was this aktia. This means that the Germans are there to search for remaining Jews in empty houses. So little Leo was so afraid, so he went and hid himself under a mattress. The German soldier who penetrated the house put his boot on the mattress, and he never felt that the 14 years old little Jew was lying under. Even the boot was heartless. Do you know the story about the princess that couldn't sleep because of a little pee? So this boot didn't even feel that the body of a Jewish boy is under. Leo came back from his trip. He didn't bring food, but he brought the little coat of his cousin Yecheskel. This little coat that Yecheskel was standing in front of the mirror and saying, "Oh, I'm so pretty." But the coat was bodiless. Yecheskel was sent to the crematoriums. So the only sign that was left, this empty, covered with blood, little coat. This is another scene of pushing the Jews out of their homes and sending them to concentration camps. Sometimes killing them, sometimes just piling them up like pieces of furniture and sending them together to the concentration camps. Whoever tried to escape, of course, he was caught and killed. Wohin, the Jews were sent with an idea that they're going to be displaced in a place that they will have work, they can own their lives and keep on living. So they were sent actually to, like sheep to slaughter without knowing where to. So these are the trains. They were actually cattle trains. It's not like the trains you have today, comfortable with seats. Sometimes hundreds of people were pushed in one wagon with no air, no water, and the train was running hours and hours, and some of the Jews that were left alive, they left their families either being suffocated or were dying of thirst and hunger. This is whatever my mother experienced in the wagon. Inside the wagon, people were trying to rise up to catch some air. And most of them that died, some of them who were left alive, went through the selection of the concentration camp. Whoever was found healthy enough was sent to work. Whoever was old was sent directly to the gas chambers. this is whatever my mother saw in her mind. The wires, electric wires, the little hats for the German soldiers, and the word Auschwitz. Auschwitz meant death. Auschwitz and Birkenau, death camps. We know that about 1.5 million Jews were killed in Auschwitz. This was the biggest concentration camp, and from which some of the Jews survived. In other concentration camps, very, very little survived. So my mother was one of them that survived and could tell the story. How did she survive? Somebody told the Nazis that my mother can draw, paint. So the Nazis asked her to paint portraits of the families. And so she was saved. While they were killing her family, she had to paint and draw their families. This was the Empfang, welcome party. Whatever they saw, it was smoke, very, very cruel faces. Mothers were torn up from the kids, old people, crippled. They were all sent automatically to the gas chambers. The hair of the women was cut as if to disgrace them. You know, women are very proud of their hair. And the hair was later used as mattresses, to fill up mattresses. Golden teeth for the use of the Third Reich were torn. Of course, there was no doctor who's doing it, and they were pulled really cruel by whoever met this woman or man, and they took out teeth, golden teeth, to use later for the Third Reich. This is Dr. Mengele doing his discrimination, right or left, death or living. And look, people use their dignity. They had to be naked. So whoever was found sick, not fit for work, was sent directly to the gas chambers.
Ein Schreckensruf geht durch die Kojen. Dr. Mengele ist da. Das bedeutet Selektion. Alle müssen zur Sauna. Nackt, Zunge raus, Arme hoch. So stehen wir vor Dr. Mengele und seinen Mitarbeitern. Dr. Mengeles Finger zeigt links, rechts. Links bedeutet Tod. Unerbittlich mehrt sich die Zahl der Todeskandidaten.
This was the new name of my mother, the number of a hand. Losing dignity, losing hair, being naked, and then nameless. The last thing that a person can have is a name, but the name was taken by a number. And this reminds me of a story of my mother visiting America, and she had short sleeves. So a little girl came to her and she asked her, "Mom, is this your telephone number?" And she said, "No, this is my name." This is a picture of what was used in Germany with the remains of the Jews. Soap for fields and mattresses. Nothing was nothing was spared. It was all used for the benefits of the Third Reich. The soap, Reif, is very famous in Israel, and when the survivors came to Israel. The Israelis who were living in Israel, by the way, there was no state then, they called these survivors, you are like soap. This became a very terrible word. You went like sheep to slaughter. So because of this rife soap. These are the places that they had to sleep, crowded, 6 or 8 persons on one shelf. It was 4 shelves and full of people. You can go on. This is the appel. They had every morning, this is not an army. They are prisoners. Like prisoners, every morning they had to sit, stand for the appel. Going to work, and what we can notice that there's an orchestra leading all the Jews going to work, because Arbeit macht frei and happy, so music must be played. This is the famous Mengele, Dr. Mengele. Is this a doctor or a monster? He is committing experiments on bodies, on living people, trying on women, on twins, and he was trying to find like medical or scientific reason for this disease or another, and he was trying it on people. And what you can see here is the rabbit. The rabbit is safe. Nowadays you use either mice, or I don't know if still rabbits are, but they use the Jewish body, living body, as an experiment. This is a story that my mother wrote in her own words, and I would like to share with you. Dorothea will tell you. Sorry, I love the microphone. I don't keep it.
Ich bin krank. Meine Knie tragen mich nicht. Beim Appell werde ich von meiner Mutter gestützt, damit die Aufseherin nichts merkt. Mein Magen rebelliert. Meine Freundin Hanni stürzt aus dem Block. Sie hat eine Rübe am Boden neben der Küche bemerkt. In gebückter Haltung läuft sie in Richtung Küche. Aber zu spät. Sie wird vom Posten erwischt. Eine Reihe Fußtritte und Schläge trifft meine Freundin. Sie bleibt liegen, neben der Rübe, blutüberströmt. Der Posten lässt von ihr ab und geht. Hanni erhebt sich, fasst die Rübe und läuft wankend zum Block. Mit lachendem, überströmenden, blutüberströmenden Gesicht stopft sie mir ein Stückchen Rübe in den Mund. Ich weine. Du blutest, Hanni. Ach was, erwidert sie lachend und wischt sich mit zerschundenen Handrücken das Blut aus den Augen. Jeden Tag will ich solche Schläge, wenn ich dafür eine Rübe bekäme. Bei der Nacht, im Schlaf, höre ich sie stöhnen.
You can go on. People tried to kill themselves running to the wired, electrical wires. So some of them were not like sheep to slaughter. They were trying to commit suicide. In very small cases, there were rebellions against the Nazis, but in Auschwitz never happened anything, but trying to save themselves, running to the barbed wire, electric wire. This was a sign of rebellion. Some Jewish girls who worked in an ammunition factory in Auschwitz, Union, they sneaked dynamite to the men's camp, and they were destroying one of these ovens, crematorium. I think it was crematorium number 4 in Birkenau. And this was the Straf. The women never revealed the names of the people that took part in the rebellion, and they were hanged just in the front of all the people. No one was allowed to move or to share tears for these two girls that were hanged for the evil act.
6 Wochen waren wir in Ravensbrück. Ein großes Zelt, das im Wasser stand. Bis zu den Knien wateten wir auf unsere Kojen zu. Lebendige Leichen standen stundenlang in eisiger Kälte Appell. Dann wieder Aufbruch nach Neustadt-Kleve, eine Filiale von Ravensbrück. Wir gehen wieder durch Schnee und Blut. Vormittag, 2. Mai 1945 in Neustadt-Kleve. Wir stehen Appell. Der Lagerleiter brüllt: 2 Minuten vor unserem ist 1 Minute vor eurem Ende. Noch sind wir die Herren. Ein Schuss kracht, ein Mädel fällt in unsere Reihe. Flugblätter fallen auf uns und wirbeln in der Luft. Ergebt euch.
They were sent to the death march. They were trying to evacuate the camps and actually not to reveal the secrets what happened beyond these gates. So people were sent to the west, evacuating the concentration camp. This is on the way, on the march. You know, the German soldiers is covered, he covered his ears, he's with a coat, and the poor women in this case look very, very thin dress and had to march for miles and miles. They didn't even know where to. This is a story of my aunt. They put 5 people in a row, and not to just to save bullets, they just shoot 1 bullet to the heads, through the heads of 5 women, trying to kill the 5 of them. My aunt was in the middle with her cousin. So just a few seconds before the bullet was shot, she pulled my aunt under, and they were actually saved from this trying to kill, on the last way, the remains of the women, Jewish women. This is the symbol of the Freiheit. You can see the remains of the Jews, the tanks, the wires, and the symbol of the Nazi regime.
Wenn sich alle Meere dieser Welt in Tinte verwandeln würden, wenn die ganze Erdoberfläche sich in Schreibpapier verwandeln würden, würde die Tinte und das Papier nicht ausreichen, alle diese Leiden und Tränen unmenschlicher Qualen wiederzugeben. Dem Umstand, dass ich, ein junges Mädchen, dieser Hölle entronnen und zusammen mit meiner Mutter leben geblieben bin, verdanke ich nicht zuletzt meiner armen, leidgeprüften Mutter, die immer an meiner Seite war und mich aufrichtete, wenn ich umzufallen drohte. Halte dich, mein Kind, es wird nicht ewig dauern. Und sie selbst, schwach auf ihren Füßen, wollte vor mir nie schwach erscheinen, damit ich mich nicht verlieren sollte. So stützten wir uns gegenseitig. Und noch einem Umstand verdanke ich mein Leben. Ich zeichnete, ich porträtierte ihre Gesichter, diese mörderischen, kalten Augen. Ich malte ihre Familienmitglieder, ihre Frauen, ihre Kinder. Sie hatten Frauen und Kinder daheim und mordeten Frauen und Kinder anderer Menschen in fremden Ländern. Viele große Künstler aber gingen im KZ zugrunde, und dass ich und meine Mutter am Leben blieben, dünkt mich Wunder. Elli Liebermann.
Many cases of like miracles happened to my mother. I will tell you one of them. I will try to speak in English because English is not my mother tongue, and Hebrew you will not understand. But I just want to tell you that my grandmother, who lived in Berlin, was a midwife. A midwife is a woman, a nurse that helped to give birth to babies. Hey, Bama, yeah. And one day, a very young girl was crying, and my grandmother asked her what happened, and she said, I just gave birth to a baby, and my parents wouldn't recognize me, neither the baby. So my grandmother said, don't worry, I'll go to your parents and convince them to accept you and the baby. So my grandmother went, and through her conviction, she tried to convince the parents to accept the child, and the child went back home. Later in years, in Auschwitz, my grandmother heard a couple saying, come here, komm, gleich. And my grandmother was afraid. She said, what happened? And this couple said, don't you recognize me? I am the girl you saved me and my daughter's life. For that, I will help you keep on living. This is just one case of a miracle. I have to say that my mother survived, and she kept a very optimistic vision. She was a happy woman, a happy mother. She kept on drawing pictures, not of what her memories told her, but of her new life. She finished her work after the liberation, drawing 100 pictures of what you have seen. Later on, she kept painting very optimistic pictures, portraits of us, portraits of children, of legends, and as if the past never happened. She erased the past in a very optimistic life and a belief that all people are good, all people are equal, all people deserve to live no matter the race, the color, or the faith. And this, just keep in mind, you are the future generation of this country. You should be like representative of a better future, not for Germany, but for the whole world. These are 4 pictures that were found after she finished her drawings, and they were sent to the museum in Auschwitz. I have to just say it loud that these not drawn in Auschwitz itself, only after the liberation. She couldn't dare to describe the poor life in Auschwitz, but she did it later, and 4 pictures were found later and were sent to Auschwitz Museum. I don't know by whom, I don't know when. My only sin is that I never asked my mother anything because she never told, and we never knew. I don't know the real history of her life. I don't know, the chronicle parts of her life because I never asked. And if I could ask, I wouldn't know what to ask. Luckily enough, she left me and you her heritage as a message to the later generations. Never, ever forget. This is another miracle. This is my uncle Alex, and my brother Alex is named after him. This is a picture that was found in Auschwitz and was given to my grandmother when she was in Auschwitz, and she kept the picture between her teeth, so at least one memory she will have from her son. He was perished in Auschwitz. My grandfather, when my parents, my mother and her family were found, they were sent directly to Auschwitz. She had a little brother, Leo, the one that went out of the ghetto to find food, because he was a child. and my father was very old, they were sent directly to the crematorium. Little Leo was a beautiful child, and one German soldier liked him, and he said, "Come with me, and I'll take care of you, and you can live." But little Leo says, "No, I'm going with my father." And they both went to the gas chambers. This is my mother with the uniform of a very Zionist organization after the liberation. So there is life after death. There is hope after disbelief. My father was a Polish soldier or in the Russian army, and my mother when they got married. This is my mother at the age of 30, 40. Look at her eyes, happy. Could you actually realize that she had such a terrible, terrible past? Always smiling. She never learned to draw, but when they were shipped to Cyprus, they were trying to sneak to go to Israel. They were found by the British and sent to Cyprus. This is one of her artistic work in Cyprus, world known. She took part in art lessons in Cyprus. She never learned. This is in Cyprus, and it says, "Happy New Year." This is my father, this is my grandmother, and this is my mother carrying me in her belly. Why do I show you this picture? To show you again that after death, there is a life. There is a new life. Wherever you go, you just thrive, succeed. This is my family when I was young. My father was a police officer. This is a fighting family. The little one beside him is this big brother. My mother, my brother Yoshua, that is not with us anymore. He was a paratrooper. And my brother Sami, he was in a nautical college. And whoever sits in the middle, as my brother said, she was the Hauptperson in the family, my grandmother. Hauptperson, yeah? Hauptperson. So this is my family. Do you understand? Father, Alex, mother, Joshua, me, Sami, and grandmother. She was kept by us like a queen, the queen of the family. And we are all named after perished members of family. So we are the fighting family. I find that my mother's works are all over the world. The books were published in many, many languages, even in Chinese. I was in China and I managed to translate my mother's book in Chinese. This picture was found in Brașov in Romania, near a synagogue. We don't know how it happened, but this is actually to commemorate the Jews who perished and were sent to the concentration camp. Today is actually a very symbolic day that I come to you. In Israel, we are celebrating to commemorate the day of the Holocaust. So I feel honored that I come here to share with you wonderful future kids the story of my mother. We can cry for her, but we can be happy that she has had a very good life. She had 4 children. I have 2 children, 3 grandchildren, 2 beautiful girls. One of them is serving the Israeli army as an officer, beautiful. The other one is just going to join the army. And the smallest one, yesterday, celebrated his 14th birthday. So how old are you? There are 14? How old are the kids here? 17. Ah, okay. Okay. So my brother has three children. I don't know. You look so young, so my brother has 3 kids. And how many grandchildren? 6 grandchildren. The other brother has 2 children. And my brother that is not with us anymore has 3 daughters and a few grandchildren. So generation goes on. This is a French word that says, I accuse. And this was said after a very famous trial in France. And my mother painted it. I actually don't know why, for what reason, but this is one of the pictures that she painted about the Holocaust after the Befreiheit. J'accuse. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. This is, she painted the portrait of my grandmother. No more painting the portraits of the Nazis, but painting her family members. This is Yakov's father. Oh, sorry, I introduced you. You're my first husband. And this is Yakov's father. My mother drew it. Yakov's family's history is very interesting. From 18 brothers or sisters of his Yakov father, there were remaining 2 brothers. But this is a different story because I'll keep you another 3 hours listening. Wow, this is me at the age of 1 year. Pornographic. This is my little brother, Alex, when he was 1 year old. This is my brother Joshua, the paratrooper, 1 year old. This is me at your age, 16, 17, and my mother painted it. All of these are my mother's drawings. This is me when I got married to Yaakov, my first husband. This is my son, Sagi, that thanks to him you have this introduction to my mother's paintings. I am at this generation that doesn't know how to use a mobile, but he did all the presentation for me, and so thank you, my son. This is my son at the age of 13. This is another painting of her that my father forced her to paint. She was after a stroke and she couldn't speak. And I don't know for what reason she painted it, like Israel is existing, the Holocaust was, and where it was sent to, I don't know. But what we can see here, that once the state of Israel existed, We are safe. The Jews are safe. They have a safe place to run to. During the Second World War, the Jews had nowhere to go to. This is another very optimistic picture that she painted for my son's room. This is a story of the little boy that climbed a tree to see the little eggs. Optimistic. You cannot really realize that she went through such terrific things. This is 1 year before she got the stroke. 1 year before. And she kept her spirit as young as if she was your age. I don't know if you know Shirley Temple, a very famous children actor. My mother was a fan of her. You are fans of football groups, and she was a fan of Shirley Temple. She kept a young spirit. No, this is from magazines, yeah. Why do I show you this picture? When in later years she decided to take art lessons at university. And this was the picture that she painted for the teacher. The teacher looked at her painting, I don't know why, and he said, listen, you must be a Holocaust survivor. I don't know what artistic science gave him this fact, but it was true. From this picture, he realized she was a Holocaust survivor. This is, again, the fighting family. I say fighting. We have to fight in Israel for our right to live. We are surrounded by enemies. So being a soldier, it is a must. Because if we don't keep our weapons, we'll disappear again. My father, Alex, Sami, me, and Joshua, my 3 brothers. So this is the very famous grandfather, Alex, with his grandkids. You can count how many? How many? Come on, speak up. 6 grandchildren. Go on. This is my grandchildren, the beautiful girls and the beautiful boy. You can see that one of the grandchildren is wearing very proudly the uniform of the Israeli army. She's an officer. This is my brother. Do you recognize this place? Visiting Berlin. Yeah, Brandenburg Tor. And so the family story goes on. I don't know whether it's the last. And this is me. I just came back from a trip with young children. Alex's son is a history teacher. And he took his students to Auschwitz, Birkenau, Majdanek, Treblinka, and he asked me to join the trip. At my age, it was difficult physically, but easy mentally, because I shared, like with you, my mother's story, and I kept her life and alive in our minds and our hearts. And here's one evening that I'm giving the same lecture of my mother's story. This is Tzachi, his son, the history teacher, that together with him and the group, we are actually with the flag, proud flag of Israel, and on the land of Warsaw, Poland, just saying, we are here. And we are in Israel to stay. This is the gate to Auschwitz. And this was the most emotional moment for me when we were sitting with the Israeli flag with beautiful children, your age actually, and me, the old lady bending there, flag of Israel, and singing our hymn, Hope, Hatikva. This is just a column of fire. And I just finished my speech, very excited. And I just wish that something of my words will enter your heart, enter your mind, and keep being a good man. Love your friend as yourself. How do you say it in German? Can you say it aloud? Yeah. So with the hope for a better future for you, and you can change the future, it is in your hands. I thank you for listening. There are questions? Wait a minute. I just want to thank you very much. Maybe the stories were too tough for you, but I admire you for coming and listening, and thank you, dear kids.
My wife has covered a lot of information. I would like to try and make it realistic just by using an example. Every one of you wakes up in the morning, has a schedule. He knows he goes to school, comes back from school, has his agenda either with homework, friends, and so weiter. Okay? Try and imagine you're leaving school today, you're coming home, and your parents tell you, we have to pack the most important things we have at home within an hour and leave. No more home, no more routine, and you're going to a place you don't know where it is, you don't know what your future is. This is the essence of what you have seen. It happened now in Ukraine. People from one normal day to the following lost their life. Women took their children, went to either Poland, Romania, whatever, without knowing what future is going to hold for them. Husband left behind. This is the essence of what you have seen here. Life stops within a second.